Hey guys, Shane here with Cornerstone Captures, and welcome back as we are at part 3, and this is our final installment of shooting products at home. So, in part 1, I showed you guys how I shot this image, and in part 2, I showed you how I edited the image to get it on a plain black background. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a little extra special sauce, right? We're going to make this image pop a little bit by adding in a design behind it, and we're going to be recreating this look here. Okay, so I have a reference folder, and I will be using my reference folder because I want to make sure that I don't miss a step and I don't waste you guys' time, but we are going to recreate that right there from scratch. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is, one, let's hide everything and just go back to a transparent board here. Okay, and above our photo here, we're going to say new layer, get our layer 4. And as you saw, the pattern is actually circles. So if I click this real quick, so you see these circles back here, circles of color, right? And we're not going to worry about color right now, but the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to hit M for the marquee tool, and we're going to make sure that we are on elliptical marquee. And I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to drag again. I'm just not going to drag in right at the corner. Okay, and so there we go. Perfect. Now, the next step that you're going to want to do is you're going to hold down shift and hit delete. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up your fill menu here, and we do want to fill it with black, so we'll hit OK. Great. That right there gets us one black circle. But as you remember, you saw a lot of colored circles. So the next step that we need to do is we need to make more circles, right? Now, for you Photoshop savvy folks out there, you might say, well, in order to do that, I just want to hit Command J or Control J and just make a copy, and then I'll hit V for the move tool and I'll move this over, and I'll just keep repeating that process over and over until I have all the layers that I need to make all the circles that I need. Well, what if I told you that there was a better way to do that? What if I told you that there was an easy keyboard shortcut to do that? So I'm going to hit Command Z in order to undo and go back to our just one layer with the circle, right? So an easy way to do that is what Photoshop calls step and repeat. So what you want to do is you want to hit Command A to select this entire layer with just this one circle on it, right? And then the next thing that you want to do is hold Option, Command, and hit T. Now what this does is this is initiating the step portion of the step and repeat. So from here, it's just your normal transform. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to click the circle, and I'm just going to drag it over until I feel like it's in a good position, in a good place. Okay, and then I'm going to click the check mark. Great, now I have two circles on one layer. Now, here's the fun part, the repeat part. If you hold down shift, Option, Command, and hit T, you get a third one. And if I hit T again while holding down those three buttons, again that's shift, Option, Command, T, I get a new circle every single time that I hit the button. And it's the same exact width apart. And it's all on one layer. How cool is that? Very simple way to make your own patterns. So what I'm going to do with this, now that I have one row, I'm going to hit Command A again to select this entire layer. And I'm going to hold down Option, Command, and hit T. And this time, instead of dragging left to right, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm just going to drag a row down. Say about there. Again, hit my check mark, hold down Shift, Option, Command, T, and then get a new row. And now we have a cool pattern. I'm going to hold Command D to deselect. And this we can call pattern layer. And that's great, right? But what about the color? How did we get color there? And that right there, my friends, is going to be the next step. So in order to get the color in there, what I did is, one, I'm going to bring back my image, right? And I used the gradient, this same gradient here that's in the logo, I use that for the dots. So here's how we do that part. So we need a new layer above our pattern layer. And in case you guys didn't know, you can hold Command, Option, Shift, and hit N for a new layer rather than coming down here. I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. Okay, so on this new layer, we need to create a gradient that matches this. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to start off by hitting G for the gradient tool. So in order to get this gradient, what you'll do is you'll click right here, and that'll bring up your gradient properties. And you see here that I only have two points. I have a black, and it fades to white. Whereas this one is green, goes into a marine, then an aqua, then a cyan, and then all the way into a blue, violet, purple, right? So in order to mimic this, what we're going to do is we're going to say color stop, right? I'm going to check this, and then we're going to check color. And then this automatically brings up your eyedropper tool. So I can just drop, let's say, I really don't want to use the colors here. I like the colors that are brighter on the box. So let's pick a color on the box, and we'll say, okay, now we have a green to white, but we need more. So how do we get more? What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to double click that, and instead of white, what's our next color? Let's say we pick from here, or we pick from here, and we grab this nice turquoisey color. Great, now it's from green to turquoise. We still need to add a new color. So what do? We just double click down here, drag and drop, it goes back to white, but we know we don't want white. So we pick our color, and we go a little bit more blue, a little bit more aqua, I'll say. And you can do this as many times as you want and create as an elaborate gradient as you like. Okay, so now if you check this out, it really does look just like the logo. So I'm going to hit OK. Now we have that gradient up here, and we can just do our normal gradient things. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift on our new layer here, on our blank layer 4. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm just going to drag from one edge to the other, from left to right. Now holding down Shift just gives me a straight line. So I'm going to do that. Perfect. How about that? Check out that gradient. So now you might be wondering, well, how do I apply this gradient only where the circles are on my pattern layer? And you do that by clipping this gradient layer to the pattern layer. So it only shows up where there are circles. And you do that by right-clicking on your layer, and you say Create Clipping Mask. Check that out. How cool is that, right? So now what you have, if I were to bring this image back in, you have dots on top of your image. And you're like, okay, well, I need the image to be behind, I need my products to be in front of my dots. How does that happen? Because if you were to drag and drop that above there, now you can't see the dots. So you need to create a layer mask. And because I've already done this, you guys can see where I'm going. I'm going to take a layer mask that I've already made. But the easiest way to make a layer mask that you need is to use the pen tool. And if you guys need a reminder on how to use the pen tool or why you would use the pen tool, check out video number 2 in this series. But for now, I'm just going to hold down Option. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down to our layer 3. Okay, and we're getting there, right? This is looking a lot better. Our layer is making it look like we actually have a surface here now, and it's cutting off the dots right here. But there's one more thing. I think that this is good, but it really looks like a bit too much, especially up here at our hard edges at the very top. So what we want to do is we want to cut down on the visibility. You know, like in our final product, we had that nice fade of a gradient of gradient circles going across just the middle of the image. So how do we do that? So what we're going to do is we are going to hold Shift and click our gradient and then our pattern layer, and we're going to say Command G, and that's going to put these in a group. Now the cool thing about groups is that groups can have their own universal layer mask, right? And so now that I've given that a layer mask, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command I to invert, and that's going to make it black, which means that it's not going to be visible. So in order to do this or make it visible, we need to add white, right? Here's what I did. I used the elliptical marquee tool again, best friend. I added a hefty feathering. I believe it was 250, it might even have been more, of 250 pixels. Let's just try that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not hold Shift this time, but I'm just going to draw this elliptical marquee tool out to about right there, right where I want it. And you see the feathering already has taken place there. And with my layer mask on the folder, on the group, still selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and hit Delete to bring my fill back up. And instead of black, this time we want to add white to our layer mask. And there you have it. If I hit Command D to deselect, you see that gradient that we had before. And this is totally immovable, totally customizable. You know, if you really wanted to redo it and do it again, you could. But one thing that I really like to do is I like to unlink the group from the layer mask. So this way, with the layer mask selected, and if I hit V for the move tool, I can then move this layer mask up, down, left, right, all around, so that I can get my gradient right on the position that I want. And also, I can go into my pattern layer and I can say, I want to move that over. And let's say I want to make my pattern layer bigger. I can do that as well. Or I want to stretch it out, right? So maybe I don't want circles. Maybe I want something that's just a little bit more, you know, a little bit more obtuse or oblong. Or artsy. Basically, what I'm saying here is it's all up to you. These are just the general steps that will help you get there. Okay. So now that you've gotten these tools and tips, I hope that you will now have, you know, the capabilities and the drive to go and do something similar to this yourself. It doesn't take an entire huge studio. It doesn't take a lot of lights to do your own product photography in home. All it takes is a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of know-how. Thanks guys for hanging out in the corner. I'm Cornerstone Captures, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.